Good morning, boys and girls. This is Miss Coville, and today is day 1, lesson 11, and we will be talking about add and subtract fractions in word problems. This will be covered in standard NF2. And before we get started, I want to let you know that you must use your packet and write down all work, all scratch work, and all answers that I provide on the right hand of my screen to help you with your understanding while you do your work on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question says, Alena has a 1-gallon watering can that is full of water. She uses 3/8 gallon to water her roses and 1/3 gallon to water her geraniums. How much water did Alena use to water both the roses and geraniums? So let's go ahead and pick out the key words in our word problem that's going to help us understand what we must do. So our first set of key words or phrases is how much, and the other key phrase or word is both. So that means we're going to find out how much water did Alena use to water both the roses and geraniums. So that means I'm going to have to add, and I'm going to have to add the two fractions given, 3/8 gallon of water and 1/3 gallon of water. Now let's go ahead and get started. Question A says, does Alena use more than 1/2 gallon or less than 1/2 gallon of water? So let's go ahead and look at what they provide us. So we have two number lines that will help us in our understanding. Now the first number line is broken up into equal parts. Now let's see how many equal parts it is broken up into. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our first number line is broken up into 8 equal parts. Now let's see which fraction has 8 as the denominator, because again, remember, our denominator always tells us how many equal parts our fraction or our whole unit is broken into. So that means we're going to be looking at, that represents 3/8, because this is broken up into 8 equal parts, and our denominator for this one is 8. Now, let's look at our next number line. Let's see how many equal parts our other number line is broken into. 1, 2, 3. It is broken into 3 equal parts. So let's look for the fraction with 3 as the denominator. So 1/3 will be represented for our bottom fraction number line. Now let's look at the top number line. We have 3/8 highlighted right here. And for our second number line, we have 1/3 highlighted. So we're going to estimate and say, does Alena use more than 1/2 gallon or less than 1/2 gallon of water? So a half on our number line will be represented right here in this portion, right here. Now, we know we're going to add both fractions together. So we already have on this number line 3/8. Now just imagine if I were to pick up 1/3 and add it in this area. Would it go over 1/2 or will it be below 1/2? Let's think. So if we were to add them together on this number line, it will go over this half point. So that means Alena would need more than 1/2 gallon of water. So for A, we're going to write down more. Now let's go ahead to B. And it asks us, how do I know? So if we're going to estimate, I know that 3/8 is closer to 1/2. So let's look. 3/8 is right here. Is 3/8 closer to 1/2 or is 3/8 closer to 1/2? So 3/8 is closer to 1/2. Now let's look at our second number line. So our second number line, 1/3 is right here. Is 1/3 closer to 1/2 or is 1/3 closer to 1/2? 1/3 is closer to 1/2, which will be represented in this area. So let's go ahead and write our extended response. And again, in math, we need to make sure that we're using complete sentences and we're always restating the question. So how do I know? So we're going to start it off with, I know that Alena will use more than 1/2 gallon of water because 3/8 is close to 1/2. So, or therefore, because we're going to use therefore. Therefore, 3/8 combined with 1/3 should be more than 1/2 gallon. All right, now let's go to our next question. It says, estimate how much water Alena used. So, if we know that our answer is going to be greater than 1/2, I'm going to estimate that my answer should be between 1/2 and 1/2. So let's go ahead and write that out. So we're going to say my estimate should be between 1/2 gallon and 1/2 gallon. Now let's go ahead and move on to D. Now, boys and girls, let's keep in mind that the purpose of us estimating is a form of checking our work before we find our final answer. So we're going to estimate to see if our final answer will be reasonable. And in order for us to do that, we need to estimate. Now, this will also help us further understand and fine-tune our thinking to make sure that our final answer is in fact correct. So for part D, it says we're going to write an equation with equivalent fractions to find the amount of water used. So let's go ahead and write our equation. So we're going to write our equation. So our equation would be 3/8 plus 1/3. Now let's pause. So let's look at our equation written. We have 3/8 plus 1/3. Now question D says write an equation with equivalent fractions to find the amount of water Alena used. Now, are our fractions equivalent right now? No, they are not. Now, they're not equivalent because they do not have like denominators. Now, in order for us to find like denominators, we need to find the least common multiple. Now, in order for us to find the least common multiple, we need to write down our multiples of what two numbers, boys and girls? Good job. We need to find our multiples of 8 and 3. So let's go ahead and write down our multiples of 8 and our multiples of 3. So our multiples of 8 would be 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. And we're going to find the first 5 multiples of our largest number. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to find the multiples of our lowest number until we find a multiple that matches the one above. So let's go ahead and go on with 3. So our multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. And then we'll keep going one more. We'll do 27. Now, I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to look. What is my least common multiple? It is the lowest number that is the same in both multiples of 8 and multiples of 3. So my least common multiple will be 24. All right, so now that I know my least common multiple is 24, I now need to make my denominators like denominators. So in order for us to make them equivalent fractions, I now need to multiply my denominator and my numerator by a like fraction for them to become 24 as my like denominator. So I can multiply 3/8 by 3 over 3 in order for it to become an equivalent fraction. And again, whatever I multiply my numerator by, I must multiply my denominator by. So my like fraction will be 3 over 3. And then that would give me 9 over 24. And then the like fraction that I will multiply 1/3 by to make an equivalent fraction, I will multiply 3 times what? 8, which will give me 24. And whatever I multiply my numerator by, I must do with my denominator, multiply with my denominator. So my new equation that is equivalent will be 9 over 24 plus 8 over 24. So again, as you can see, we had to multiply our fractions by a like fraction to make them equivalent. So the like fraction that I multiplied them by was 3 over 3, which gave me 9 over 24. And the like fraction I multiplied 1/3 by was 8 over 8. That gave me 8 over 24. Now I need to go ahead and I need to solve. So my now answer would be 17 over 24. So the equation that I would have written for part D, which will be equivalent fractions, will be 9 over 24 plus 8 over 24. And that is right here. Now part E asks us, is this answer reasonable based on our estimate? So in order for us to find out if our answer is reasonable, we must solve, which is what we did right over here. And our answer is 17 over 24. So now we need to see, is my answer that I got 17 over 24 reasonable based on what we estimated? So let's go ahead and draw a number line. All right, boys and girls, so let's look at the number line that we have drawn. The estimate that we said our answer will be between 1/2 and 1 whole gallon. Now, I drew a number line to help us explain or understand if our answer that we worked out, 17 over 24, is in fact reasonable based on our estimate. So again, we estimated that our answer will be between 1/2 and 1 whole gallon. So right here, I drew a number line and it's broken into 24ths. 1/2 of 24 is 12. So 12 over 24 will be our half, and 20